Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Alex Cuesta Daily Show. How are we all doing out there? I'm actually terrified still from yesterday. We'll get into that a little more. First, before we get into anything fun, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. It'll really help. And if you like hearing me rant and rave like a lunatic about things, then you'll enjoy the show. So we're going to jump right in. Socials as well, always the Alex Cuesta Show. Go search that anywhere on social media. You will find us. We're going to start the show right away because I want to get right into it. Biden COVID tracker. We're doing it for today. Yesterday, I kind of did the 5-day average and it looked good. Today, we're kind of back up to a little bit of the median. Yesterday, we were at 78,492,544 cases and 935,583 deaths. As of today, we're up to 78,595,883 cases. That's an uptick of 103,883. And the deaths are at 938,138. That's an uptick of 3,138. So it looks like it's back to about a median. We're back to around 3,000 deaths. I did the 5-day the other day, and maybe it was a little off. Maybe it was one really good day that kind of brought it down, or a few better days. I don't know how they do their reporting on the weekends, if they're a little bit less. I know for COVID initially, it took them a little bit to get their information back up from over the weekends and stuff, but it's right back to around the median. Again, floating around 100,000 cases. That's good. Let's get it underneath permanently. 3,000 deaths, still not fun, but deaths kind of follow a few weeks after. So we'll see what happens in a week or so from now if we're dropping significantly with deaths. So that is holding Biden accountable. Still has not beaten COVID. And it seems like he's given up on it because he doesn't talk about it much. And a lot of places are lifting all the mandates, lifting the masks. New York City is finding a way to give their arbitrary time to lift mandates, vaccine mandates, and mask mandates. So it's all arbitrary, the dates that they give, but they're finding a way to give an arbitrary one. So hooray for that. But yeah, there's that going on. So I want to jump right in because we are in a scary fucking place as a world right now. As we speak on I didn't even say the date. I'm an idiot. It's February 23rd, 2022, a Wednesday. As we speak right now, Vladimir Putin is attacking Kiev, Ukraine, the capital of Ukraine. There are bombs. He is attacking Kiev. Initially, he only was taking the breakaway regions, the Donbass region and another region that were Russian, sending peacekeepers there. And in one day, escalates to taking the capital. The war is officially started there. Russia is going to war. Now, there's a lot of implications here. I said my piece on it yesterday, what I think the West needs to do and the response, and what either a strong response or a weak response can lead to. And it's scary shit. Today's article has something to do with that. It's about White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, who I've said over and over again, I don't envy her job. I think she's on board with the bullshit, but I still don't envy her. Joe Biden's a moron. She has to go out and defend and spin Joe Biden's dumb shit all the time. So she's in the worst precarious situation ever. But this article is from the Post Millennial. It is written by Nick Monroe, and it is titled Watch. Psaki claims Biden has rallied the world to stand up to Putin. President Biden has rallied the world, rallied Europe to stand up against the efforts and actions of President Putin. That is a quick little quote there. This was written yesterday, so obviously it's from Jen Psaki yesterday, but we're going to go over it because, God, it's asinine. Let's go with it. During Tuesday's White House press conference, Peter Doocy of Fox News grilled White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki on whether the sanctions announced earlier the day by President Biden would be enough of a deterrent to stop Putin's aims in Ukraine. Newsflash, future ahead. It obviously wasn't. They continued going on. But I have to say something about Peter Doocy. Peter Doocy has been a breath of fresh air. He's always asking legitimate questions of these fucking people. And you have stupid things on Twitter where it's like, oh, Psaki dunked on Doocy. And there wasn't a single day in a single press conference that Psaki has ever dunked on Doocy. Peter Doocy asks legit questions that people want to know about, and they don't give real answers. So let's continue. Here's Ducey's question. Why do you guys think that sanctions are going to stop Putin if his goal ultimately is to redraw the map so it looks like it did 70 or 80 years ago? What sanction is going to stop him from doing that, Ducey asked. So there you go. That is the question. Here's Psaki's response. I think, just to kind of reiterate maybe something you touched on there, for anyone who watched his speech last night, what he made clear in that speech is that he doesn't even necessarily or doesn't recognize the independence of Ukraine as a country. That certainly gives us an indication of where his intentions are at this point in time. Sanctions can be a powerful tool. They have been a lot of moments throughout history, she continued. So just from there, she was referring to Putin's speech where he does not recognize Ukrainian sovereignty. He still thinks him as a Soviet nation. He still thinks him as part of Russia. The man is a Bolshevik. The man does believe in the Soviet man. He still believes in the Soviet Union. He's probably still bitter about the fall of it. He hates the West. And she said sanctions can be a powerful tool. Part of me agrees. Mostly, I think madmen don't give a fuck about sanctions. We've seen this plenty of times. Let's keep going. In addition to the U.S. announcing sanctions against the country, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his country will be joining in sanctions against Russia also, as well as the European Union and UK counterparts. So it's again, they're all sanctioning them. They're cutting off the West to Russia. Russia knew this. They were prepared for this type of shit. They don't care about sanctions. They knew it was coming. They don't really give a damn about that part. Again, I've reiterated yesterday, Putin doesn't care about his people. So it doesn't matter if they suffer. And in terms of Justin Trudeau, that freaking loser, now that he's done arresting truckers fighting for freedom and wrongfully using his authority and being an authoritarian, now he's going to try and join the world stage and go against somebody who is an authoritarian. Oh, fuck you, Justin Trudeau. He doesn't get to sit on a mantle of goodness at all. Let's keep going. Sanctions are, quote, starting high, according to White House press secretary, in terms of their magnitude. Quote, what we want to do is prevent a large-scale invasion, death, and destruction across Ukraine. Devastation to the Ukrainian people, and what happens with sanctions is that they work over time. They're not an end. They're not intended to max out at the beginning. They're long-lasting and substantial, and they're intended to squeeze. So again, if you're deterring somebody from taking stuff immediately, a sanction is not going to do anything. It's a long-term goal. So it's kind of stupid. It is kind of stupid to be thinking that that's going to be a deterrent at all. So when they announce it, it's not a big deal. Again, Putin doesn't care about them. And again, as we know today, the sanctions didn't do shit because he's marching into Kiev and bombing Kiev. So Putin does not care. Let's keep going here. Psaki said that Putin wanted to divide NATO and wanted the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project to go forward, but neither of those things had happened. Quote, so his intentions and objectives are not playing out, said Psaki. Peter Ducey asks follow-up questions that references one of Biden's comments on the 2020 campaign trail. The president said before he got here that Putin knows if I'm president of the United States, his days of tyranny and trying to intimidate the United States and those Eastern Europe are over. It's 2.5 years later. Putin is intimidating the United States and those in Eastern Europe. What happened? And there's a video over here that Ducey referenced of Biden giving an absolutely terrible campaign speech. For those that are interested, we are going to listen to it because you need to hear it coming out of the man's mouth that what he said back on the campaign trail 2019 going into 2020 itself does not fit the way he has led in foreign policy. So let's hear what Biden's had to say here.
Folks, you hear the news. Once again, Putin and the Russians are trying to engage in our elections and decide who the president's going to be. And this time I'm the object of their attention. Because Putin knows if I am president of the United States, his days of tyranny and trying to intimidate the United States and those in Eastern Europe are over. I'm going to stand up to him. He's a bully, just like the president. And I know he doesn't want me to be president. But to tell you what, when I'm president, things are going to change. Mr. Putin, the American people decide their elections, not you. Chip in $1, $5, $10.
So there you have it. It was a terribly done ad. It looked awful. And just the things that he said aren't true. He's not tough on Putin. He's not going to stand up to him. He hasn't stood up to him. The tyranny in Eastern Europe is occurring. Putin knows he's weak. He said in a statement before, we've uncovered, I think it might have been the Post Millennial or somewhere else, maybe the Daily Mail. uncovered a whole thing where Putin flat out says Obama is at least intelligent. He's formidable in terms of a statement, but Biden's a buffoon. If he ever becomes president, it's free reign. And what do you know? Biden's president, the buffoon is president, and here it is. And it's a half a buffoon because his brain's gone. So here's was Jen Psaki's answer to Ducey in that aspect. I'd hardly put it in that way. I would look at it actually from the prism of the United States, and President Biden has rallied the world, rallied Europe to stand up against the efforts and actions of President Putin. And we've laid out very clearly exactly, she said before being interrupted. So she's lying. She's lying. He has not rallied anybody. We are the ones that speak for NATO. So whatever he says is what we do. So when he says the Western Front's going to be this and that, they don't have a choice but to go with what we say. But she's flat out lying. Biden has no confidence around the world. He's an idiot, and everybody knows it. No one respects Joe Biden around the world. He's a stepping stone. People in NATO know they can go back to status quo of not paying their fair share, and that the United States is still going to cover them under Biden. People in the Middle East know he's a pushover, and they will do whatever they get. He's already bought and paid for in China. China knows they can do what they want. And now Putin realizes that Russia can also do what they want. The world laughs at Joe Biden. The world is laughing at the United States currently. Let's keep going. Ducey tried to bring up the likelihood of a further increase in gas prices expected to come, but Psaki didn't respond immediately. Yet a follow-up question from another reporter demanded a more exact answer on that aspect of what to expect to come as this Russia-Ukraine conflict unfolds. Here was Psaki's answer. A lot of what is happening right now is sensitive. It includes conversations with foreign counterparts and other major large global suppliers. It also includes conversations we're continuing to have with Congress and others about what steps may be at our disposal, and the president is continuing to consider the options. So let's give a layman's term here. It is too complicated for you dumb motherfuckers, so we don't have to tell you. That's what she just said here, that it's complicated. A lot of conversations have to happen. We have to talk to people foreign. We have to talk to suppliers. Only we, can talk to that because we're the intelligent ones. Don't worry. You won't understand it anyway. Don't worry about it. We will take care of it. You are too stupid to understand it. We're going to talk with Congress. We're going to see what steps are at our disposal to mitigate this because only we know best. We know best. We caused the problems, but we're never going to blame ourselves, and we know best. These people are unbelievable. Let's continue here. We have a few more paragraphs. The commentary from Biden's critics online are pointing out how the Biden administration canceled the Keystone Pipeline from the onset, but then also later had officials begging OPEC to produce more oil in response to U.S. woes. And bottom line is, the Keystone Pipeline solves all this. Continuing fracking solves all this. Keeping us energy independent, this isn't even a problem anymore. You sanction the Nord Stream. You give Germany a slap on the wrist for even engaging without consent of the NATO nations. It's not like you're not allowed to do any business with Russia. You just have to do business within the confines of NATO. So they didn't do that. And we still buy and let it happen. And then Biden gets rid of the Keystone and opens up the door for Nord Stream 2 to be a major supplier of energy. We were supplying a ton of energy to Europe. We were energy independent, the world's biggest energy exporter, all undone in under 2 years. And now look at where we are. Begging OPEC to produce more oil? You serious? The whole goal was to break away. Let's finish this off. The current situation on the ground at this hour has Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky ordering army reservists to be at the ready to respond to a situation with Russia. In Russia itself, the country's lawmakers on Tuesday granted Putin permission to use the army wherever he deems appropriate. And that's the article. So yeah, as we know, they're in Kiev now. They granted Putin permission to use the army. However, army is anyway, always was. That's a formality. But yeah, the doomsday scenario for Ukraine has occurred. And it's bad, people. This isn't good. This is a domino. China will take Taiwan next. They might do it at the same time as Ukraine, just because they like kind of doing things on the back burner. But they will take Taiwan next. This is a real test. The West doesn't actually respond. I know Biden put out something tonight saying that the Western nations will react severely and swiftly. I don't know what that means. He's flat out said we're not going to war with Russia multiple times. I think he's just going to put tougher sanctions. That's really all it's going to be. Tougher sanctions. He's weak. Our Western leaders are weak. Boris Johnson's weak. Justin Trudeau is weak. Emmanuel Macron is weak. They're all weak. And Putin knows it. Xi knows it. And like I said in my prediction, that wasn't a wait until the Olympics to attack pact over their meeting, their summit between Putin and Xi. That was a you have our back, we have yours. I firmly believe an axis was created. It's terrifying. So we'll see. But Putin's Psaki's lying out of her teeth. She has a tough job. She has to defend this moron. She believes a lot of this, but still, it's a tough job. I do feel for the woman. She does good yeoman's work. She does. She goes out there and takes a beating. Ducey kicks her ass with questions every day. And all the left could do is try and play it off like Peppermint Patty over here scored one. But, man, bringing the world together just like he brought the country together, right? He's just, a guy that brings people together. That's our lunchbox Joe, President Biden. God, those words should never be uttered by any President Biden. What the fuck did we do? All right. On that note, so long, everybody. If you like what you hear, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Tell everybody about the death and despair that I've been bringing the last 2 days. Maybe they'll like it. Social media, go search the Alex Cuesta Show wherever you can find it. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. And hopefully things haven't gotten worse, but I'm not being too optimistic lately. So long, everybody.